I had a whole long intro planned out, but straight up, the title of this video is my war on block practice. Do I think block practice is the worst thing in the world? Not necessarily, but I think people highly overemphasize how important block practice in their ability to score better. So today, I'm going to settle the debate straight up. Is block practice useful? If so, when should we use it? Is random practice useful? If so, when should we use it? Let's jump in. Let's start with the definition of these two styles of practice. Block practice is hitting the same shot to the same target with the same club multiple times in a row. Random practice is selecting a different target, a different club, and a different shot with every ball. With block practice, we're trying to improve our golf swing, and with random practice, we're trying to improve our golf skills. Boatloads of golfers, including myself, do this block practice, and they expect the results of the random practice. Let's go back to that title for a second. My war on block practice isn't necessarily because I think it's like evil or it's the wrong way all around all the time. No, it's just because it's addictive. The repetition of block practice can create a dangerous illusion that confuses I'm performing well right now with I'm building a skill that I can use later. I've talked about in previous videos how way back when in the past in college, I used to just go hit balls with intensity, no intent, just hit a bunch of 7-irons in a row and think that was going to get me better. Didn't work. You can go watch that video after you watch this one. But the thing is, like, now I should know better, right? So I shouldn't fall into this trap. Well, I still do fall into this trap. It's really easy to just rake a ball and hit and rake a ball and hit. So here's an easy question that I ask myself so that I don't fall into this trap. Is my practice letting me hit shots without thinking? If so, I'm not training to get better at golf. I'm just there for comfort. Now, little side tangent, there's absolutely a world where you can just go hit balls for vibes. Like, I think that's great. Just as a stress reliever, just go hang out. But I think the majority of golfers show up to a driving range wanting to get better. So I think this question is relevant for the majority of golfers because you never hit 37 irons in a row on the golf course or hit a 7-iron on the golf course without having a target. That's not how we play golf. So training that block pattern and then expecting the skill of hitting a shot without a warm up to show up on the golf course magically, that's the problem. So we know that that trap exists, but how do we get out of that trap? Well, we need to first define what winning is in a practice session, because I believe most golfers measure with the wrong scoreboard. For example, we can walk away from the range thinking, man, I hit quite a few pure shots today. It was a good range session. Versus, did I measurably improve at a skill that I want to get better at on the golf course? Winning in a practice session should be the result of measuring metrics that actually transfer skills to the golf course. Because how many times on a golf course are you going to try to make 100 4-footers in a row, or much less try to make 2 of the same 4-footer in a row? So this new scoreboard needs to transition over from am I measuring successful repetitive volume over to am I measuring successful resets? We do this because if your practice session is focused on successfully solving the next new problem, then when you get on the golf course and get a new problem, well, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in that situation. Quick test. If I did 100 oil changes in a row on the same car, would I be able to call myself an expert mechanic? Of course not. I mean, I can't even fathom changing the oil in my car. I'm not exactly mechanically inclined, but that's besides the point. Transitioning that into golf, if I hit the same 7-iron 100 times in a row, am I becoming a better golfer? No. I just got better at hitting that one shot over and over and over again in those conditions in that moment. Hot take here, if the shot is only repeatable when all the conditions stay the same, it's probably not actually a skill that's going to show up on the golf course. And block practice feels like improvement because it creates positive momentum. You hit one good shot, human nature goes, oh yeah, man, you did great there. Let's do one of those again. That felt good. Oh yeah, that was good too. Let's do that again. Oh, that was great. Let's do that again. But we don't do that on the golf course. The way that most people utilize block practice ends up just being cardio, and they get elite at solving a solved problem. And this pattern of solving an already solved problem over and over again results in nothing being learned. But random practice forces discomfort, and it forces you to fail, and failure creates learning. Straight up, random practice works because it trains the two hardest things in golf, resetting and adapting. Because when the task switches, your brain cannot coast. Hence why I guess I can't multitask. two key principles here. Principle one, switching forces you to rebuild. For example, if I hit 2 7-irons in a row to the same target, my brain didn't have to do anything. It just copy and pasted the previous swing into the next and the next and the next because nothing changed. But if I switch clubs, my brain has to load a pattern, unload the pattern, load a pattern, unload the pattern. And that struggle, that friction, that's where the learning happens. And straight up, no one ever got better by doing easy things. Second principle, switching forces comparison. When you go from driver to wedge, your brain is going to notice the differences and make the adjustments to your setup, to your tempo, to your low point, all that good stuff. And the more that we repeat all this contrast, the more clear that the differences become. Now you might be wondering, do I really want contrast between driver and wedge? Don't I want my swing to stay the same the whole time? All these clubs are built at different lengths, and in most cases they can vary in weight. Because of those differences, you quite literally have to release it at a different point. Hence why we move the ball around in our stance, change where our weight's at. That makes those adjustments a little bit too. So really the big contrast that we're going for between clubs is actually setup, and then we just keep tempo the same. All right, club, that's all done there. When we think about what we're trying to get out of practice, the result of, say, a single range ball should not be perfection. That's not what we're trying to chase. In reality, we're trying to chase failure because failure forces learning. And if you can hit a good shot on a driving range after you switch clubs, that's building something real. Now, this is a true you gotta hand it to a moment, but block practice has a very real job. Now, if you're a beginner, or you're trying to complete a new swing change, well, then random practice doesn't really help you accomplish what our next goal is. Block practice helps us build a base. I mean, golf is not a natural movement, so for beginners, we do need that block practice to ingrain some kind of movement. And if we're working on a specific thing in our actual swing, we do need block reps to be able to figure out what that movement feels like. For example, back in my club fitting days, there were absolutely times where I told somebody, hey, it's probably not time for new clubs. Let's just go ingrain this move so that we have tendencies that I can fit those clubs around. So we can look at block practice as a tool, not necessarily like a lifestyle. We're using block practice to build the move, and then we're using random practice to test it. So if you've been playing for a short amount of time or you're working on a swing change, then the majority of your practice will most likely end up being block practice. But if the goal of your session is scoring and getting better at golf, then random practice needs to be the majority of your practice. Because the golf course does not give us second chances. Therefore, we need to train accordingly. Random practice is exactly how we build adaptability for the golf course. And I found that random practice works best when it is planned. I know that planned random practice sounds like an oxymoron, but here's what that practically looks like. One of my favorite drills is 18 random iron shots, but getting to the driving range and having to pick out 18 random targets and go back and forth seems like a lot of mental work. So to smooth that over, right now in the Play Ready Golf app, or you can do this in ChatGPT, I just get 18 random numbers and I go through and I hit them. So I don't have to think about what the target is because on the golf course, I don't get to choose a yardage I'm hitting to. The golf course just gives it to me. Now, random practice absolutely will feel worse than block practice because you'll fail more, but it shows up significantly better on the golf course. So we can think about block practice and random practice like this. Block practice builds it, random practice tests it. Now that's a cool little soundbite, but practically, what do these sessions actually look like? Well, I'm going to give you two protocols that we can walk through that are really simple that can apply to any part of your game. The first protocol is primarily focused on that build phase, and the second protocol is primarily focused on the test phase. Protocol 1 is divided up into 3 blocks. For example, I'm going to say that there's 10 balls in each block. Block number 1 is going to be the same target, the same club, and the same feel 10 times in a row. Block number 2, same club, same feel, but we're changing target with every ball. That can be as simple as alternating between 2 targets, or it can be as complex as picking 10 new targets. If you're practicing indoors, skip this second block. The whole point of the second block is to force alignment resets more so than just stepping away and stepping back in. So just make sure that you're fully resetting after every shot, back off, go right back in. Go through your full routine. Block number 3, we're now changing our club and changing our target with every single golf ball, but we're still working on the same feel as before. This protocol gives you repetition without going on autopilot. So we're still getting the benefits of block practice and building the changes that we want to build, but we're forcing these small resets. Protocol 2, we're just going to call ABC. Every single letter is going to get assigned a club and a target. For example, we've got driver and we've got a lane that we've picked out as our fairway. B is going to be 7-iron to a certain target on the range, and C is going to be a wedge to a certain target on a range. We're going to go through and repeat A, B, C, loop back up to A, and continue. I want you to go through your full routine. This should take a little bit longer than maybe what you're used to, and it's going to feel weird, and you're going to fail a lot because it's training resets. It's training the skill that you're trying to build for the golf course. Random practice is supposed to expose problems. It's not supposed to feel smooth. But we now know that block practice has a very clear place in our improvement. So here's how we can mesh the two together. We can look at this as expose, fix, test. Random practice is going to expose the issues, block practice is going to help us fix them, and then random practice is going to test and then expose, and then we go back and fix, and then we go back and test. So we're going to use that ABC loop to expose anything that's broken. Once we've exposed and identified a problem, we can spend 6 or 7 minutes focusing on that one problem, fixing it through block practice. Then we move right back into testing and exposing with random practice. That's a great way to stop guessing and stop wasting money and time and start measurably getting better. Here's what I don't want to happen is you do your ABC over here, C exposes a wedge problem, and then we spend 50 minutes working on that and never retest. Because testing exposes if that solution was an actual fix or not. And if that fix works while we're still switching clubs, it's going to show up on the course. And if you're still here, you're definitely tired of just being a range hero and that practice never actually showing up on the golf course. All that means is it's time to start failing and adapting and actually getting better. Now, like I said, I've been that guy before who was the range rat who thought that hitting more balls was going to help me get better, when in reality it just frustrated me, and then I ended up on forums or in Instagram reels or watching YouTube videos on how to get better at golf. But what I found is that random practice forced me to learn my tendencies in a controlled environment, which just led to more freedom and lower scores. Okay, block practice builds it, random practice tests it. And with that in mind, go ahead and give one of those protocols a try from earlier. If you didn't already screenshot them, I'll toss them up again. Oh, hopefully that was enough time. Just keep in mind, if random practice forces you to struggle, that means it's working. Thanks for your time. I'll see you soon.